Hello everyone and welcome back to another 1/6 scale figure unboxing. Today we have the Sideshow Collectable Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface. This is the pretty lady / old lady version. My personal favorite version from the first movie, especially the end scene where he has that pose in particular. This is actually my first Sideshow piece, so this will be my initial first impressions on a Sideshow figure. I've never had one before. I've heard some negatives when it comes to their stuff, but at the same time I've heard a lot of positives with this. For example, a lot of the community have universally agreed that this is probably the best Sideshow 1/6 scale figure. Also maybe the Blondie that just came out. And yeah, I thought I'll just grab this now while I can because I found it really good price at Pop Culture and I had a lot of points to basically use. So I got this for a really good deal. I've been building my module cases on my left and right. I will be doing a part 1 collection tour pretty soon of just maybe my DC collection because that's completed as of now. Well, it's the more completed module cases. I have a couple more on the way. Obviously where this guy is going to go and all my other horror stuff, they're kind of just all over the place now because I don't have a spot right now to put them. I initially wasn't even going to get this because I was waiting for what TOTS, Trick or Treat Studios, were going to give regarding this franchise, and I don't want to shit on them too much, but I'm pretty disappointed with what they have revealed so far with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre line. So I went back and luckily this was available and I grabbed this one, which this one, going by what the community have said and what a lot of other reviewers have mentioned, that this is pretty much a home run. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble anymore. If you guys do enjoy this, make sure you like and sub, and we'll get to unboxing. So we'll start off with the old lady head sculpt, which is the one that comes non-connected to the body. And just an FYI, I'm not going to swap out with this head sculpt and the apron and the mallet and the little meat knife cleaver. I'm not going to use any of them. So I've put them back in the box and I haven't even taken them out, to be honest. But I do want to just appreciate this head sculpt and just show pretty much a bang up job that Sideshow did. Again, so far, and this is looking at it face value, I really can't fault Sideshow with this. I really think they've done a good job with not just this head sculpt, but the whole figure itself. You can see that they've actually sculpted a stubble Gunner, basically. It's basically Gunner under the mask. Like, you can see the teeth is all rotted. I'll just bring the light in just a touch more. It's really, really good. Obviously, it's sculpted hair. And to be honest, if it's not in art, in my opinion, I prefer sculpted. I think so far in art and the custom route are the only guys that can do rooted hair well. Tried to adjust my lights, but I don't know if it's catching on camera, but you can just see the blue eyes through the mask. It's probably a bit difficult to see though. And what I'll do now is I'll quickly throw the actual prop mask. I'll try and grab some original photos from the actual movie. It's probably not the best because the movie's 1974, so it's a bit grainy to get the actual photos. But it looks pretty spot on. I think maybe a negative could be the hair's a bit, you know, it's sculpted hair, so you're not going to get that realistic look. But I think it's just fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with this. You got the little cross that I assume Leatherface smashed the original human with the mallet, which is pretty gnarly to think. You got real fabric here, which is nice. Also, I might as well throw the prop mask and how it's holding up now, because I think I remember seeing it. It's pretty much on its last legs. It's not the best in terms of how it's held up, especially comparing to like a Myers mask or a Jason Voorhees mask or something like that. This is probably one of the worst ones holding up. But yeah, overall I do like it. I'm not going to display it with this one though, because I prefer the pretty lady look with the end scene of the film. That's probably the highlight of that movie, in my opinion. And I think that's a good way to segue to the actual figure now with that head sculpt. So I'll get into that now. And here's basically Leatherface here as the pretty lady. I really, really like this. Like I said, this is pretty good for a Sideshow piece. And again, this is my first Sideshow figure, and thus far it's a really good impression. You got the mask here. The makeup effect looks really, really nice. Again, something simple, but I love the fact that they used real string for the mask that he obviously wraps around his face, and the stitch work here. Even though this is sculpted, the stitches here, it gives the realistic look. And it fairly matches pretty well. I've seen some people repaint the face to make it look a bit more vibrant compared to the movie. I'm not going to do it. I think it's just fine. It's definitely passable, you know. It's not that bad. But for perfectionists, if you guys want that 100% accuracy, yeah, you probably need to maybe do a little bit of light work, especially on the makeup. I've seen some people gloss the lips for the lipstick. I might do that. Maybe that's as far I will go with this. But other than that, the head sculpt's really nice. And again, I love the sculpted hair. I think if companies can't do rooted hair properly, just throw and scrap that idea. And again, sculpted, it's out the box as is, and it's fine. Then you got the tailoring, which looks really, really nice. It's all dusted up. Again, replicating that last scene where he's chasing after Sally and the truck driver comes and throws the wrench at his head. Yeah, really, really good. The ties may be the only complaint I can say with this whole thing. Is the texturing is good and the color's accurate. A lot of people have said this, but the size, maybe if it was halfway cut like this, so all this axis gone like that, maybe it'll be a bit more accurate, but it's not terrible. I think the 3.0 size is accurate, but this has the better texturing compared to the 3.01. The body's pretty good. I'm not going to articulate it because I don't do that, but it's ratchet joints in the elbows, so you're able to, hopefully you're able to throw the chainsaw up in the air like that end dance scene. And obviously it's padded, and again, it looks really, really good. It looks exactly like Gunner. And just to go closer up to the chainsaw itself, looks really good. Light blood work. I think the killing version has more blood from Sideshow, but I think that's accurate to the movie because the last scene, the chainsaw's not as drenched compared to the earlier scenes in the movie. This whole attire is supposed to be his more presentable look anyway. It's the dinner clothes, so that's the whole thing with Leatherface, and they don't really touch on that in any of the other movies that much, where Leatherface kind of has multiple personalities depending on the mask he wears, and they kind of missed that, especially with maybe the more recent remakes. But yeah, that's probably explaining why the chainsaw's not as drenched. It's got a bit of speckling though, it's pretty good. Then you got the bracelet, or the charm, that obviously, I assume, the poor person who he's stolen the face from had owned at one point. That's not die cast, it's just plastic sculpted, but it's still pretty good. It hides the joint pretty well on this arm. That's probably another slight negative, is the wrist peg. Depending on how you pose it, seems to want to poke out a bit and pop off. It's not really avoidable, but to be honest, I would prefer this than a rubber arm. I just don't like rubber. Then you got the pants. This is probably the more standout part on the pants here. Speaking of the truck driver that throws the wrench at him, Leatherface falls over and cuts himself with the chainsaw, which apparently, if I remember, Gunner actually did cut himself, and the scream or cry he does is actually real. Obviously, I don't think there was actual chains on the saw itself, but just the heat of it running did actually burn Gunner, so he actually did get an actual injury from that. And then you got the kind of cowboy boots, which I'll turn it around, lift it up a touch. They're pretty high up, and but yeah, I think they've done pretty good with that. This is sculpted, no split cut or anything. I'm fine with that because it's not going to really topple over, and I would prefer a split cut, but I prefer a full sculpted over a pleather material, and luckily none of this has pleather. But yeah, overall, really, really nice. Really quickly, I'll see if I can find the prop of the chainsaw, and I'll split screen it now to see the accuracy here. There's a lot of debate whether the actual motor here is yellow or green. If I remember, Gunner done an interview saying that he was holding a yellow chainsaw, accurate to what it's depicted here. Some people say it's green. Again, I don't know, I'm only taking the word of the guy himself that held the chainsaw in the movie. It's kind of like the Myers overalls or coveralls. I better not say overalls, it's coveralls. Whether that was blue, grey, green, charcoal, matte. The debate's always going to be there, I guess, but the guy said himself it was yellow, so I'll take his word for it, I guess. But yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut away and go to my final thoughts. And that's pretty much it. I just want to say I love that I'm able to pose it like this. I thought you couldn't do it like this at all. I've seen many other reviewers like, you know, D Knight, Review Spot, all those other great guys that done the review on this. They didn't really articulate to the extent like this, and I thought, oh, maybe you can't do it, but you can. It's not 100% perfect, but I'll tweak it later. But as the review, that's pretty much it. Again, I love this. I think Sideshow have done a really bang-up job here. Most of their horror figures, I think, are their best lines. Aside from Freddy, I'm pretty disappointed with what they did with Freddy. Hopefully we get a reissue of Freddy. I would really love that. Maybe with the new Scream movie as well, we might get an updated suit. I wasn't the biggest fan of how Sideshow done that suit. But again, that one was just passable, I guess. But this one is a home run in my opinion. I think it's the best that they've done. And I'll quickly just show the inspiration of this pose as well for people that don't know. It's one of my favorite shots of the movie, especially with like the sun beaming in. But yeah, this is an amazing figure. I love this. I'm so glad that I didn't miss out on it as well, because I almost was going to skip this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure you like and sub. Also, I'm doing an Instagram just based on my figure stuff and my collection. I'm going to probably throw a heap of photos of Leatherface as well up there, and maybe various other stuff. So if you guys want to follow me on that, I'll appreciate it. But other than that, if you guys did enjoy this, make sure you like and sub, and I'll see you in the next one.